Hello, twinks and brunettes. I'm doing a little house build for you today. Well, for my Pleasantview, but also for you. For the past week or so, I've been suffering from a pulled muscle in my chest and I'm feeling very Plumbella early 2020.
They ask you how you are and you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
I don't think you can imagine the pain. If you haven't experienced it, it feels like every time I take a breath, I'm fighting for my life. Last night, it hurt all the way up to the side of my neck and down my back where the ribs are, and there wasn't a single position that felt comfortable, and shit like that's been happening for a week. I've been going through it, so I'm taking it slow. That's why I have a nice chill build for you today and not me screaming about Sims 4 kits like I was planning to do. That might still be coming though, if I get angry enough again. But yeah, about the build, I'm making a house for Bo Broke's son, who's just started his family with his wife Marabella. They have 2 children right now and they live in a cramped apartment, so that's not right. I've built them this cute blue and yellow house. I was very into that combo and I've sprinkled it a little bit all over the inside as well. I've been building a lot of apartments lately, so it felt kind of refreshing to only build one house on a lot and not have the whole thing lag horribly, because The Sims 2 on modern systems works really well, but apartments, if you have more than 4 or 5, get very laggy still. I decided to put a basement in this build, which I love to do but don't always have the patience for. And there wasn't supposed to be a second floor at first, but the house looked a bit too flat and sad for my tastes with only the ground floor and the basement. This house ended up a lot bigger than I initially anticipated. I thought I would make 3 bedrooms and 2 baths, and I ended up with 5 bedrooms and 3 baths. Let's just call it future-proofing and pretend I don't have an issue with estimating the size of a space. At this point, I started to struggle with the floor plan because I had done all of these steps before and the game crashed. So this was my first time actually trying to figure out where I would put a bathroom. I distracted myself by choosing flooring and planning other rooms while I came to the inevitable conclusion that my first plan would not come about. I was really disappointed that my idea of getting an arch into the dining room from both sides of the house didn't coordinate with the need for that bathroom on the ground floor, but I was able to adapt in squeezing the bathroom door in there anyway. I don't know if it's functional with how I put the counters later, but does it matter? No! You probably noticed me struggle to find room for it. It was definitely a process. I just love that pink bathroom so much that I don't even care if it works. That's the state of mind I'm in right now. I think this area of the house, the pink bathroom, the dining room, and the kitchen are my favorite of the whole house because I furnished them while all my creative juices were still flowing. I definitely lost steam by the end of the build. I learned something fundamental while I was building this though, and it is to do paint last in a room. I always struggle with choosing paint in an unfurnished room and then have a hard time coordinating everything to that choice I made. By choosing the furniture and the decoration first, I can then try a bunch of paints and choose the one that fits with everything. I've made choices in this build that I wouldn't even have clicked on to try it if I'd done the paint first. I guess if this is something that you struggle with and you feel like you're sitting in front of that paint selection without picking anything like it's Netflix, try doing it last. Now here I'm starting the dining room and the look of it will change slightly after this, but this is mostly what you get. I've decided to make a coffee counter and a china cabinet of sorts. I've been really into that lately, but I'm careful of not doing the same thing too much in different builds because I very quickly get tired of things. But if anything, this cabinet hack has made me want to download more kitchen clutter like stacks of plates and drinking glasses. Soon enough, all of Pleasantview will have china cabinets. I don't know if this coffee counter thing in the dining area is a common thing, but it's something I've liked doing in my houses for a really long time. I like the look of an isolated bit of counter space that's only for coffee making purposes, and I think all of the completely custom houses I've built since starting this Pleasantview have it. I guess everyone in town hires the same contractors. It's the type of thing that I would put in my house if I was building my own house. So yeah, I guess I'm not really careful about it, but I wish I was because I always end up doing the thing I like over and over until I'm sick of it. But we don't need to unpack that right now. I actually wanted to use this moment to catch up a bit, chat with you about what's been going on for me lately. I've been trying to bring this channel back into being more Sims 2 focused because I've noticed that I get a lot less engagement on my Sims 3 and 4 content. I'm not exactly shocked by this, and I don't want people to think I'm only doing this for the numbers, especially not doing this for the money. I am not being paid by YouTube. I don't get nearly enough views to be. It is pretty disheartening though to work on a video for days and sometimes a full week and always have it be my 10th worst performing video in the last 10 uploads. That Stardew Valley video I made did give me back some confidence since that was completely out of the woodworks and it got a very positive reception, but overall I've not been feeling very confident in my work. It especially hurts when I work on a super long video like the Not So Berry Challenge while being fully aware that it will perform poorly. I know I made this hard on myself by deciding to do hour-long episodes and that this is the type of thing people with editors do, but I don't have editor money and I've always been a fan of setting myself up for failure. I still want to make the content I like and want to do, but it's really hard to think about what I want when it seems to be what very few others also want. So yes, if you thought that it felt like I was searching myself a little bit these past few months, that's because I was. I'll never please everyone, and I'm not a big enough creator to truly flop, but I still want to make content that the audience I already have will enjoy. This is not to make anyone feel guilty about not doing enough as a viewer. I just think it's healthy to share that I straight up never know what I'm doing, so expect more diverse uploads from me, more Sims 2, more one-offs. I've been finding a lot of joy in making those and sharing those with you. And now back to the build. I've built this bedroom for a teenage boy since Robin's son, so Beau's grandson, is soon to be a teenager and I didn't want to have to redecorate right away. As you can see for this build, I'm not being cheap. That's because I'm facing the issue again of everyone in my Pleasantview being too loaded. Even the brokes aren't broke anymore, they can afford houses like this now. So starting next round, I'll have my Sims start to pay taxes and invest together on new community lots because this is ridiculous. The wealth hoarding is over. By the way, if there's any interest at all in a Pleasantview overview like I used to do with my old corrupted one, but with this new one, I might consider doing it. They take a long time to make, but I think it could be fun to explain all that has happened in a brand new Pleasantview with pairings that are completely different from what I did the first time around. I've also included a lot more custom townies into my pairings, and most everyone is still alive except for the Sims that are already elders and adults when the game starts. I think it would be fun for you to meet everyone and know what's been going on in there. I've not been playing it in the dramatic angle. I was playing my aptly named Extremely Dramatic Pleasantview, so don't expect as much cheating and tragic death, but expect a little bit of it still. Now I'm getting into the exterior of the house and I've been messing around with those roof pieces for a good while already. I'm still not sure I'm happy with the results, but roofing in The Sims 2 is always going to be best case scenario and never what you actually pictured. I really started leaning on the color theme with the exterior, and I think I also might change the foundation color later on. I did like the brick and I kept some of it in the basement, but I might end up picking a lighter shade of it. I didn't really leave enough space to do anything in the yard, so that part of the house is kind of sad. But you can't have everything in life. I've also not playtested this house at all, so there's a world where nothing in it works, which is kind of exciting. At this point, I'd been building for a couple hours already and I was getting really hungry. I just wanted to get done with shit. So it's not spectacular looking, but I took a break shortly after and began working on the second bedroom when I came back. I don't know why I didn't finish the upstairs before I started on the basement, but what's done is done. Now I furnished the second bedroom for a teenage girl, but there is no teenage girl in the family currently. What I've done is kind of dumb, but with 5 bedrooms, I don't think you can blame me for running in circles. Robin and Maribella have a young daughter. She's still a toddler. So what I've made is I furnished a nursery for a girl toddler, furnished a kid room for a girl child, and furnished a teen room for a girl teen. My thought process is she will just switch rooms when she ages up, and that means less decorating for me in the future. It's smart, really. One thing I don't like about making basements this way is that even though you're able to put windows in rooms, they don't actually let any light in. So until you have a sim on the lot that can turn the lights on, your basement is in the dark. It kinda sucks because you can't see the extent of my genius in all its glory. I'm not really that confident about my building, don't worry. I was actually second guessing myself so much while recording this and wondering if it was even good enough to post. Building was never something I thought I was good at. I used to only download houses or renovate Max's lots, but I think I've gotten decent at it. The way I think about building in this game is more like a means to an end. It's very rare that I do it for enjoyment and not when a family urgently needs a place to stay and I don't have a choice anymore. This feels like kind of a crazy thing to say given that I've been playing this game since it came out, but I'm still learning to love building. I still never build in The Sims 3 and barely do in The Sims 4, so this is still a win for The Sims 2. I guess I just don't have that dog in me. I watch Lil Simsy a lot, and just the amount of builds she posts in a week makes me feel nauseous. I can't even imagine taking all the time to make those builds. Then again, building in The Sims 4 when you're experienced is a lot quicker than building in The Sims 2. For example, just finishing this house took me at least 5 hours, and a really big fancy house can take multiple sessions across a couple days. I think a really important thing if you want to get into building in The Sims 2 is to do your research about the cheats and get yourself a couple signature CC pieces. I would be nothing without 45-degree angle of rotation, quarter tile placement, turning snap to tile off, or my little rugs and curtains. I don't think it's necessary to have tons of CC, but if you've been playing for a really long time and you're growing bored with the selection, recolors might be the move for you. Recolors can completely revamp items that you wouldn't have used before, like cabinets I've used for the coffee bar in the dining room and in the kitchen. Those base game boring counters are now my favorite in the game, all because of recolors. I really want to talk about chessboards now, because I've put one in the basement and I began to wonder if anyone actually has something like that in their house. Like, I've seen chessboards that you can put on a normal table and just play like a normal person, but what is it with The Sims and always having that huge fuck-ass table solely dedicated to chess playing? Like, yes, I'm obviously part of the problem since I used one, but I have a good excuse for that. And it is that a chessboard, unfortunately, is the perfect answer to a 3x1 space that you have no idea what the fuck to do with. I barely ever make my Sims use them anymore since they get most of their skills from the computer, and I always preferred the telescope for logic anyway. It's always exciting to keep some green in the gene pool. What can I say? Speaking of aliens, I've gotten a request to make a short tutorial about how to install and use the multi-pollination technician mod, and I'll be glad to do that because I know it can be intimidating. People don't want to install it badly somehow and cause an issue since that's not the kind of mod you're supposed to ever take out of your game, and that's understandable. This made me wonder if people would be open to more short tutorials of that type. Let me know for sure. As long as it can be explained in about 3 minutes, I'm all for it. I don't know how to make mods though, so you're probably better off with Google for that one still until I enter my modding era, but that will never happen. Also, yes, I know that these glass cupboards at the back there would be hell to reach if this was a real house, but do we care about that? No! Here I'm starting to work on the entryway and living room, and you'll start to wonder if I'm obsessed with tables. For a bit there, all I could think about was one more table. Just one more table over there. It took me everything I had not to add a coffee table in the middle of the living room on top of everything, but it would have been way too crowded. I already had to move the bathroom door of my darling pink bathroom to make everything fit, so I didn't want to fuck myself even more. I really struggled with making all the wood tones and textures fit together. I think this is a big issue with The Sims 2. There should have been more general wood swatches and textures between items, even items that weren't meant to go together. What if I want to use a cheap base game bedside table with my Murphy bed? I think I should have a uniting wood swatch between the two to make it work. When you have a lot of wooden elements in a room, it can quickly start to look like you picked furniture at random or you kept the default swatch for everything. Also, a lot of the swatches are puke green and yellow. What's up with that? I was wondering what kind of houses you guys prefer building. I can never seem to build small houses even when I set my mind to that, so I always end up with huge houses filled with so much stuff that makes my game super slow when I play them. My Lothario household, currently one of Cassandra's daughters who kept the estate, is so ridiculous that it feels like my game has to pause and load when I switch floors, and there's only 2 of them. I don't know how I manage it. I guess I have expensive taste. Maybe that's what all those years of building enormous boxes and slowly but surely learning to furnish them did to me. That might also be why I'm so into building a castle for my Build a City challenge, though I'm trying to avoid with all that I have to build a second one. I prefer having 15 Sims crammed in that castle than to have to build a second one. No. I guess I also always end up building huge houses because I'm not really good at estimating the size of a space like we learned previously. I always go bigger than I think I need because I build apartments a lot and I have the opposite issue with those. My apartments are so small, it's stupid. I'm always like, this time I will fit 3 bedrooms into an apartment, mark my words, but nobody's there to mark them, so it never happens. I've also been getting a lot more apartment bugs than I used to recently, like the neighbor duplication thing or my neighbors walking down the stairs in a sitting position. I also once had all 3 of the other tenants on my lot completely stop moving and stare at me for hours every day until it got to 10 p.m. and then they went back inside. I wish I still had the video of that because it was fucking terrifying. They were also all shaking like they just had espresso. There was something nefarious going on that night for sure, but it was none of my business, so I didn't interfere. Also, yes, don't worry, the way I furnished that bathroom bothers me a lot more than it bothers you. I'm probably gonna go in later and just rearrange the furniture because that doesn't work for me. I love making workstations like this one with 2 PCs, and I also found it very funny to put it right next to the main bedroom because you know those kids are going to be on Minecraft at 4 a.m. right next to their parents' bedroom, like it doesn't matter. I remember when I lived at home and had a laptop, I would sometimes game on it until the wee hours of the morning on the kitchen table, and my mom would stomp out of her room at 3 a.m. like, please go to fucking bed, all I can hear is the click-clack of your keyboard. Good times. Also, this main bedroom is fully the worst room in the house, hands down. I struggled so much with finding the right color scheme to unify everything, and I have cut so much of me just looking through swatches and having a hard time making a decision because yes, there was more than what you've seen. You don't know how much I'm sparing you right now, and I did all this to find a swatch only to change it later when I chose the paint. I was also feeling kind of bad because it's a very to the point bedroom. It's like sleep and get dressed. But then I wondered who out here has parents who have a cool room. Probably very few of us, so does it actually matter that this room sucks? No! I did it all for realism. I don't know if I'm the only one, but when I make a new house, I often feel super weird playing in it at first. Like it doesn't feel like I'm allowed. It's almost like it takes a while for me to feel that the house is theirs and they're allowed to live there, but it also feels like the house is fake for a really long time. When I was a kid, that used to fuck me up so much, I would straight up refuse to build at certain times of the day, like when it was dark outside or too early in the day. I was so fucking weird about building. My older sister would stare at me like that emoji because she didn't understand me at all, and like honestly, I don't even understand myself in retrospect, so I don't blame her. Then we acted shocked when I got insomnia and got super anxious about everything in my life. Sometimes life gives you signs and you can't understand them because they're so fucking stupid. It's weird that I still have some remnants of that, like I never truly got over it. I'm glad I can build when it's dark outside now though, because with a 9 to 5, I wouldn't be getting a lot of building done at all. Now, ignoring all that, back to the build, I'm working on the exterior now, and you're going to witness something so stupid that I do, but that I assume most of us do. Being so careful to make the terrain paint appear natural that you start over and over and over again to get it just right, therefore completely manufacturing everything that's natural about it in a painstaking display of pride. Reminds me of that Robert Pattinson quote about them putting a piece of wire in his collar when they were shooting Twilight so it would look rumpled in exactly the right way. And I quote, "The most intense form of pretentious dishevelment I've seen in my life. This is what doing terrain paint makes me feel like." And well, we're almost done here. At this point, I was just doing the last little fixes that needed to be done before I would show the entire house finished, furnished. But yes, here is the finished house. Beautiful yellow and blue. I'm not the biggest fan of the plaything in front of the house. I wish the colors fit better, but what can you do? And the upstairs, really small compared to the rest of the house, but thank God for that because the house is big enough. The first floor right here, very, very pretty to me. I really love the kitchen. I really like the bedroom. I really like the entrance. Not the biggest fan of the living room. And of course, as you know, I love this pink bathroom so much. Then the basement, I love this basement. I don't love playing in basements, but I really like the option to have one and that it's a lot easier to make one than you would assume. And at this point, I was really curious to know exactly how much the house was worth. So I went into Neighborhood View to see that number. And this house is worth a whopping 127,809 simoleons. Well, as always, guys, I love you and I care about you. Please follow me on all of my social medias. They will be linked down below, as well as my Ko-fi if that is something that could interest you, and the link to join the Discord server. Sleep tight, don't let the Bud Light bite. So.